What's up, everyone? Coming back at you with another video. So I just want to say this before I start. As I start getting more engagement, I'm going to pick up the production of the videos. I actually know how to edit a little bit. I've taught myself a little bit. I've probably got like a year or so, a year and a half. I've been learning how to edit. So I can edit videos and do effects and add clips and all that cool stuff. Make good thumbnails and everything, but I haven't been getting any engagement on the videos. I just posted like 30 fucking 5 videos or something a couple days ago, all at once to try to like shock the algorithm or anything just to get engagement, because I really want to get people to watch these fucking videos, because I love pro wrestling. I want to talk about it with y'all, but I think I have like 3 views on 35 videos I posted all at once. Like 20 of them are shorts and most of them have no views. So when I start seeing engagement, though, I'll start picking up I make that promise to you now. I'll start picking up the production of the videos, but I have to get this out right now. I'm not even really planning on making more videos until I start seeing some kind of engagement from the 30 something videos I posted. But anyway, a little bit about the channel and what's going on with the channel, but on to the topic at hand, branding as it is called nowadays. I learned about this in pro wrestling. This is probably, if not the most advanced, top 3 most advanced concepts of pro wrestling, of building a character and marketing yourself in pro wrestling that I've ever learned. It really blew my mind when I first learned it. But when I first learned it, it wasn't called branding, or I didn't learn it using that word. I learned it using, I basically learned like where you have to turn yourself into a product. Like everything that you do, you have to commodify it, I think would be another way to say it. You have to make it this thing that people want to buy. And it's like movies. I really first learned about this when I watched that documentary, The Unreal Story of Professional Wrestling on A&E. I watched it when it went live. Like I watched it the first time that they played it back in the 90s. And it talked about in there that it's a male soap opera. I'm sure if you're a big fan, been following wrestling long enough or have watched enough of it, you've come across this term, that this concept that professional wrestling is like a male soap opera, and that it follows a lot of the same patterns. Like you see the same matches but with different wrestlers, and you see the same structure every time. It's true. It does. I even have the 7 steps that I talked about. I posted that quick guide about it where I'm like, this is the structure that all matches follow. That's what I'm talking about. When I'm talking about branding or commodifying or making treating it as a product, it's like you do the same thing every single time. But you have to find, here's the thing about it. So when I first went into wrestling, I was just focused on, you've heard me say it tons of times, I'll say it again. I was just focused on doing moves. Like I had shit in my head that I had to fucking get out, At first, it was really more just like I just wanted to have fun and do it. But as I progressed in my abilities and I was able to actually do moves, and I would watch wrestling on TV, I would get angry at what was celebrated as the best at the time. Like, oh man, so many wrestlers I could just name that I was like, that guy's garbage, that guy's garbage, that guy sucks. Guys, now, I was watching, I just found out about Dominic Mysterio, and I was watching his matches because I was like, maybe this guy's good, I'm assuming he's Mysterio's son. He fucking sucks. And then I was watching some other match. I can't remember who it was. It was also WWE. I think it was a women's match. Fucking garbage. And I'm like, this is what people are holding up. I think Dolph Ziggler. I saw Dolph Ziggler, and I was looking up who's the best seller in professional wrestling, who people think is the best at selling in the game. Because I was looking at matches of Ricochet, and Ricochet, in the little bit I know about the current landscape of pro wrestling, I don't really watch it that much anymore. But Ricochet sells the best out of all the wrestlers that I've been seeing. I've been trying to I tried to get back into it a couple weeks ago or a couple months ago, where I was trying to watch stuff that I would get into. I watched some Japan stuff. I was watching Kenny Omega. I was trying to find out about Kenny Omega. I don't really like him, but I haven't really seen enough of him to have a solid opinion of him. But he didn't really impress me. And then I saw this thing. I was watching Ricochet. I think Next is maybe my favorite WWE of the little that I saw. I think Next is the most like closest to like the type of stuff that I like watching. Like I like watching it where it's athletic, it looks like a fight, it's sensational, it's got big moves, it's larger than life, it's fast paced, it's like a sport basically. The stuff I saw on Raw. I didn't watch too much SmackDown, I believe, but I'm sure SmackDown is similar to Raw, where it doesn't really come off as a sport. It's like a lot of fucking, I don't even know how to describe it other than garbage. I don't really know. I would have to put a match on, and which, by the way, I want to say this now before I keep going about the branding stuff, which is, believe me, you want to know what I'm talking about. But I made like 10 analyses of matches I released, I think 3 actually were able to get online, but the other 6 or 7, I made 10 videos, 9 were analyses, and 1 was that quick guide to 7 steps. So 3 I was able to post. They're still up as of today. They're up for like 2 days or maybe 3 days now. But the other 6, they all got copyright blocked by channels that are not even WWE channels. Like they weren't even blocked by the WWE. They were blocked by like Sarah Amato, who I have no idea who the fuck that is, but it was like Sarah Amato's top 10 comebacks. And then some other thing that was like H2 something, blah, 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 blocked my videos too. So a bunch of non-WWE entities claimed copyright on those, and it blocked them from even going up. So I'm still figuring out, because I will make analyses all day, even if nobody's watching them. I just like watching the wrestling. It gives me an excuse to watch wrestling and break it down, because I can't really watch it that much as a fan anymore. I can once I respect the wrestlers, but I may know who they are and everything. But right now, I really don't know who's who and what's what and who's good and who sucks. And I'm not as deep as I was into it at all before. So I can't really get into it as a fan, but what I'm going to do when I watch it now, obviously, is I'm going to watch it as a worker, and I'm going to be critiquing everything they're doing. Be like, oh, this is the part of the match they're in. Interesting what they're doing here. Interesting what moves they're doing at this point in the match. If you watch any of my analyses, you'll see what I'm talking about. Like the way that I analyze matches on the videos that I do have up, that's how I watch matches now. I think the last time I went to a WWE show was at Madison Square Garden in like 2015. I was just in New York City. I was in Manhattan. And I was like, I just have to go. I was in Times Square. I just have to go. There happens to be a WWE show. When I'm there, I just got to go because, MSG is the Mecca. So I had to go see a show. And the show was fucking horrible. But at least I have that experience under my belt. I got to go see professional wrestling at the Garden. But yeah, and what I was doing when I was there, I was just watching the matches with my 2 buddies that weren't wrestling fans. They were just with me, and I was literally just like calling everything that was going on in the match. I was maybe like 50% able to predict like what would happen. Like, oh, they're about to end it now. Or they're about to go into I was sort of like semi-explaining to them everything in the match was. And I was kind of like almost calling it almost to a T 50% of the time. So that's just what I do. I just watch matches and I just look at them and immediately just start analyzing them. So I can make videos like that all day. But right now I'm having this problem where I don't know how to, like all those analyses that I did, that took me like 2 days of making the analyses, lining the videos up. It took me like a lot, making the thumbnails. I made a thumbnail for, even just making the thumbnails for the 3 videos I do got up or the 4 videos that I did get up, that took me a few hours. It was a lot of work is my point. And I want to do analyses, but then it sucks when I do an analysis and I get blocked because it's some fucking bullshit. It's not like I'm just posting the straight match. I could maybe pause it and then fucking talk, but I don't know, man. I need a way to show the matches, or I just need to know which matches I can post and analyze. So I might have to start doing more indie shows or something. I don't know, but anyway, I'm completely going on this sideline where I'm completely losing my track of thought here. Branding, let me get back to that. So branding. What branding is, and the reason that it's important for you to know, is because when I was first learning how to do pro wrestling, I had all these moves I wanted to get out. So I went to pro wrestling school, which is interesting because pro wrestling school was really like they took raw talent, which was me, and they really tried to brand it which I was sort of resistant to it. I didn't really like it. I wanted just to go do moves. This is just my arc, you know. Like I had a huge fucking arc where like I was learning, and then I hit this point where I went to pro wrestling school and they were trying to like turn me into a product, commodify me. And then when I finally figured out, like I got stalled there. And then when I finally freaking figured out what they meant, it was just like boom, like everything just erupted, man. Like I'm able to see stuff, like it's like being able to see the Matrix or something. Like I really understand why everything is how it is in pro wrestling now, and why it's important for me to give you this message too. This is why it's important for me to give you this message too, because if you do not learn this, if you learn this early, let me say this way: if you learn this in the beginning, then you can really come in really tight and cleaned and tightened up when you go to pro wrestling school. Because I'm sure most of you that are watching this haven't been to pro wrestling school yet. And I recommend that when you're learning how to wrestle, I don't know if I'd say go to pro wrestling school right out the gate because it's expensive. But you know, man, the way that I did it would be really hard though. The way that I did is we built our own ring and we just started fucking around with each other. But I would say, or I would wrestle on grass. I would wrestle at the park. It was pretty weird too, because when I wrestled at the park or in somebody's front lawn, just for fun, people would start fucking crowding around us and watching us having our matches and stuff. I had a ladder match on my buddy's front yard, and I think by the end of it, there were like 30 people standing in front of his house just watching us. Somebody was fucking, I don't know if anybody was recording us, because this is back in the 90s, so they didn't really have phones like that. But I feel like somebody was taking pictures or something. I don't know, like it turned into this show where I was like, wow, that was weird. But I mean, maybe go to wrestling school. I would say just kind of start messing around and just start figuring out how to do moves. And like, I used to wrestle in my living room with my brother and in his room and stuff. And then we would record it and watch it back and laugh or whatever. But you got to start being able to form, because if you go to wrestling school straight out the gate, because I've seen people go to wrestling school and they know nothing, you look like a complete fool. Like, I mean, which is whatever, look like a fool, but like you just look like you're just be a complete fish out of water. Like when I went though, since I had years doing backyard wrestling, underground wrestling, as I like to call it, I was able to go in there and immediately just start polishing myself up and cleaning things up. And I love wrestling so much that I was just watching it all the time and doing it with my buddies and wrestling on lawns. We built our own fucking ring. Or my buddy Michael built his own ring, and then I would go help him, you know, like we ended up rebuilding it. And it was like our thing that we would do. We would go on the weekends, we would go to his, his dad had a ranch out in like the middle of nowhere kind of. And we would go out there and we could be as loud as we wanted and put on shows and play loud music over. Obviously we couldn't do that here in a neighborhood where people would call the cops on us, but, to go wrestle in fucking parks, go wrestle fucking in your room with your brother or your sister or whatever the fuck. Just like start doing moves is my point. And then once you start getting to a point where you can do moves and you feel comfortable like moving in that kind of context, and you've been watching pro wrestling and you just have got it on your brain, then go to school. But when you go to the school, when you're getting your moves together, this is what I'm trying to tell you. This is the way that you need to think about yourself as a complete package. So yeah, first learn the 7 steps. Once you learn the 7 steps, you're going to brand yourself. And by branding yourself, I mean there's a certain way you're going to do everything. Like every time you have a match, these are the things that you do. This is the way your matches go, right? Like you do promos, or you come out, you cut a promo, and then you come out and you go into the shine, you foreshadow, you do a lot of foreshadowing in the shine so people can expect that from you. Like, oh, this is going to happen later in the match. Then you get into the shine. The way you get into the shine is, you know, maybe you have a lot of cutoffs before the shine gets established, or you go straight into it. There's also certain types of opponents that you wrestle. So like if you wrestle a bigger opponent and you're a smaller guy and you're going to typically be wrestling bigger opponents, a lot of the time it's going to be you trying to come back on the bigger opponent, or you trying to keep the bigger opponent. You get in a quick lead on the bigger opponent and keeping him down, and there's this threat of him coming back the whole time. Until finally at the end he does come back, and now it's this high drama where like you've been running away from him, hitting him here and there, knocking him down here and there, and then you've been able to stay away from him, and then at the end he finally grabs you, and now he either defeats you or you get away from him one last time and you pin him or whatever, you finish him, whatever, right? But there's just a certain way that your matches have to go. And there's a certain order or a certain way that you're going to present your matches. The 7 steps is a good way. Shine, cut off, heat, hope, falses, home, come back home. That's cool. But once you learn the 7 steps, there's a certain way that you need to execute those steps. And there's going to be little mini things that certain trademark moves you're going to put in at certain points in the match. There's going to have a prelude, have a match move you do before you finish. You do your finisher. Have 2 or 3 finishers. Have a submission finisher and a pin finisher at least. At least have 2. Sometimes your prelude can finish people. Like that makes your prelude even that much more dramatic, right? The way you do your falses. There's a certain tempo you have to your match. Are you just all climactic all the time? Or do you slowly build? Are you like a technical guy? Like there's just a certain thing that people need to expect when they watch your fucking matches. Like this is really what they told me when I was at pro wrestling school that really blew my mind open to this. Is they told me like, you're a pro now. When people come to see your matches, people come and pay to see you wrestle. Why would they watch your match over somebody else's? And then I was like, wow, you know what I mean? I never really thought about it like that. Like I always thought in the context of the entire show, which the show has a brand thing too. And the Federation has a brand thing too, where there's certain types of matches you could expect from certain types of federations. But it goes down to your level too, to the micro level, where you need to have a brand. And then this is important because once you have a certain style, like you're very physical, you're very high flying, you're very fast paced, you're very technical, you have a lot of foreshadowing, you have a lot of fucking swerves, whatever. Or if there's a style that you like on TV and you can figure out how they make their matches, like how their brand gets presented, then you can do that in your matches, right? Or you could just understand, really it's just like start doing it organically. In the beginning, you're not, this is a bit advanced. This is why I'm saying this might be the most advanced thing that I know, because you have to have your moves first. You have to have in-ring ability. You have to be able to cut fucking promos and talk shit or energize a crowd, or you have to have some kind of be comfortable in those roles. Like if I'm like, all right, cut a promo right now, you're the good guy, go. Welcome everybody to this show. I'm ready to take this guy out. He's been talking all this trash. I'm sick of hearing him, just as I'm sure as the rest of you are sick of hearing him too. We're not going to let him get away with this. It's time to make him pay, and payday is coming this Saturday. Whatever, that's a face, right? I mean, cut a heel promo right now. Everybody shut up. I'm sick of every time I come out here, y'all keep interrupting me with your nonsense and your noise. When I come out here, I want y'all to be quiet and listen to me in silence. You lady in the front row, shut up. Everybody, shut up. I'm the freaking show. Nobody's here for you. Everybody's here for me. And this Saturday, I'm going to prove to you who runs this federation and who runs this ring. Done, right? There's a heel promo. Whenever you're doing stuff like that, you need to be able to just like do this, do that. You need to be able to be comfortable and just do it on the fly. And it doesn't even have to be good, like that's what the whole learning is about. Like you just have to be comfortable in that role and just not get like frozen. Like, I can't do that. Cut a promo. I don't know. What am I going to say? Like if you go into that part of your brain, you're done. You're just going to be stuck in that shit. You're just going to freeze. Just go, just go. But I get it. It's tough to just go because it's like your brain trying to protect you from looking stupid or whatever the fuck your brain is. It's like your brain's like, uh-oh, the unknown. Let's be careful. We don't know how this is going to go. Shut down, back away from it. I get people's brains do that, right? It's a human thing. Once you get past that, the only way you're going to get past that is to keep doing it. And then your brain's slowly going to understand that it's not dangerous. And then the more you do it, the more you're going to understand it. And the unknown is going to become the known now. And then really, if you just like it, none of this shit even matters. Like, I just want to try it because it's fun. I can't wait to do it. Like I saw this one guy do it. I want to try it now. Like, it's just fun. It's just love. That's how stuff gets created. You won't fall into all this fear and everything if you're just like, I don't care. I like it. I'm just going to do it because I like it. Right? So once you get to that point where you're that comfortable and you just love it and you just do it because you love it, it doesn't even have to be fucking good, right? Nobody's even paying you yet. It's different once you're on the show, but you're not on the show yet. Like you literally are just doing it because you like it or you love it. Once you get to that point though, and you're able to hit moves, you're able to cut a promo, even if whether it's good or not, right? But once you can do it, then start thinking about this branding shit where it's like, how do I want to put everything together? I always go back to this where I talk about, oh, I was really climactic in the beginning and it really would wash my matches out. And I didn't know how to build a match, which I learned. That's what I was taught at school, wrestling school. This is why that happened to me, because I didn't understand the whole branding thing. Like there's a certain way that and hey, if you want to be climactic, that's cool, but just learn the structure to it, like when to do what. Like if you're just doing moonsaults and high flying moves the entire match and it's not working, understand why it's not working, or watch your match and be like, yeah, I see that I could have done, like it looks like fucking chaos is my point, right? Like people can't follow that shit. So once you start being able to do moves and cut promos, even when you're cutting a promo, there's a certain way that you want your promos to sound, right? Like my promos are very punchy. Like I like my promos to be like boom, 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 boom. Like I'm fucking pumped. I can't wait to fucking get in the fucking ring, right? And I feel that, and then I just throw that into my promo, and I have this intensity that I have in my promos. Like that's just what you can expect from me when I cut a motherfucking promo, right? The same would happen in my pro wrestling matches where I was real intense, but it can wash shit out. So I don't know how good of a job I'm doing at explaining this shit. I wish I could just be in a ring with you guys and like going over the steps with you and stuff like that, and I would be able to articulate it much better. But the point being of you to take away from this, when you're putting your matches together, you're building your character, when you're building your whole thing about how you're going to be a pro, remember, you're not a pro until they pay you to do it. So you have to remember, this is something you're giving to an audience. So you have to think of, okay, you don't have to pander to the audience, but you have to be aware of what that audience wants. So if you're going to go wrestle for, I don't know, some East Coast indie or some place in Mexico, you're in Mexico and you speak English and you're listening to me and you want to wrestle for somebody in Mexico, or you're in Europe or wherever the fuck you are and you want to do pro wrestling there, decide where you want to go, watch what they do, or even just watch shit on TV, right? Like the way that I learned it is I watched stuff on TV and then I would watch matches like endlessly. Like I would just watch nothing. I had so much stuff taped. I had like this like closet full of tapes of wrestling that I had recorded in over the years of all the wrestling I watched. And watch the stuff that you like and start figuring out what it is about that you like it, and start figuring out how you can recreate that in your matches and create that same structure. So when somebody goes to one of your matches, they know that this is how your match is going to go. And it makes it easier for you to construct your matches and become a worker, and where you could call stuff, and be like, oh, I'm in the Shine right now, and in the Shine, I like to do this. Or I'm in the Heat right now, and I'm the face, and I like to do this when I'm the face in the Heat. Or I'm the heel, and this is how I like to structure, and these are the types of moves that I want to do. And it's good to be aware that why you want to do that, where it comes from the matches that you like watching. So watch the shit, and then also the shit that you don't like. Be aware of what you don't like and don't do that, and be aware of what you do like and do it. So you're eventually going to build your brand, and you're going to see it piece by piece. Like I'm saying, this is what branding is. You're aware of every part, you're aware of the steps, right? Establish, shine, cut off, heat, hope, come back, home, right? And then you've got foreshadowing in there. You've got multiple cutoffs to make it look like a fight if you want to do that. You've got stuff where you're taunting the crowd. You've got character play, character work. You've got false comebacks. You've got, which is different than a hope spot. You've got swerves. You've got multiple homes you could do. You could do switches. You could do switch and baits, where you come out as the heel and then you could turn it in, become the face if you want. Or you're just aware of how the crowd is cheering for the other guy, even though you're supposed to be the face, and you could switch the roles like that. Like just stuff you just can do during a match and you can play with. And you're aware of all these little pieces that a match has, and then you know how the moves that you do fit into those pieces, and you just know how, like a puzzle, you put your matches together. It becomes your brand. Like that's what people can expect from you. Every time they watch you, they can expect good technical wrestling in the beginning. They can expect high flying stuff in the middle, or very physical stuff, or very technical stuff, or clever fucking counters. That's just beautiful selling, or whatever it is that fucking the way that you want to brand it, and then you of course connect it to your character, right? The type of character you want to be. Once you figure out this branding thing, the sky's the limit, because you can go to a Fed, they can make a tape of you, or a reel of you showing what your brand is, and then they send it out to Feds, and Feds that have a similar brand, those are the people that are going to contact you and want you on their show. You get what I'm saying? So take this the best you can. What branding is, or commodification, or just basically turning your wrestling into a product so you can sell it. And like I've said, once everything, all things being learned, at the end of the day, all it becomes is selling, right? All wrestling becomes at the end is selling. So brand yourself and learn how to, and understand how it sells, and nothing's going to stop you. Nothing. I will end with this. I remember the one big mistake that I made, why I ended my career. So when I got offered to become a pro, right? So I became pro. I started doing stuff, getting ready to debut and all that at APW. And I remember right before I was going to debut, I want to say like a month or two before, like 1 or 2 shows before I was going to actually start getting filmed to be put, because they were going to film me for a year and then start sending my tapes out to Feds in Japan. And I was going to go tour Japan. I was getting prepared by somebody that just came back from Japan, and he'd been in magazines in Mexico, and he was in the PWI 500. And I was getting trained by a legit dude, and they were preparing me. Like, they really liked me, and they were preparing me to go and, do my run. But before I started all that, I remember thinking, I want to have the look of a wrestler. Like, I want to be jacked, like when you think of a professional wrestler, you think of fucking Triple H, or Hulk Hogan, or Steve Austin, or Seth Rollins, or whoever the fuck is big right now. And those dudes got bodies, like they're jacked, like they look like almost like bodybuilders almost. And they're super fit. You get what I'm saying? Eddie Guerrero, Chris Benoit, dudes were specimens. And I didn't look like that. I look fucking how I look right now, like a fucking skinny fucking dude, So I remember I was like, okay, before I start that, I want to get my body right. I was also homeless at the time, so I'm sure that probably affected my decision to leave and then come back when I was in a better financial fucking condition. But so I was like, hey, I went up to them and I was like, hey, I'm going to leave. I'm going to give myself a year to get my body right. I figured a year is plenty of time to put some weight on, and get bigger and more muscular. And after a year, I'll come back and I'll start wrestling with you guys. And they were like, don't do it. You're not going to come back. And nobody ever comes back. Stay, it's okay. And I left because I thought I had to look a certain way. And then now, many, many years later, I realized, because of my failure to understand of how to brand myself, because I thought I had to look big because that's just what wrestling did, right? But there's a fucking storyline there that I could have done, and I could have just been the underdog skinny dude, right? And it probably would have been better if I was a heel and I came out super intense, controversial, not controversial, antagonistic, talking trash, and they put me against their bigger dudes, and I beat them. And I was this little dude that was beating all the big dudes, talking trash the entire time. I wouldn't have needed a body for that. But because I wasn't thinking like a brand, I was thinking like I have to match what pro wrestling is, and this is just what it is. Like, I didn't understand how I was a unique piece in that. And now, if I ever go back, it's gonna be, I'm not worried about getting a body at all. Like, I'm gonna brand myself as the small underdog that is just smarter, good on the mic, outmaneuvers his opponents, and wins, and it pisses people off. I could do it as a face too, but I would have to come in as a heel. Like, it's just, I would build up so much momentum so much faster if I was just pissing people off, because people would want to see me. And if I do good wrestling, and the way that I structure matches, and it's physical, just there's a certain way that I do my matches. If I make them that way, I do good promos, and I'm beating all these bigger dudes and I'm going against the crowd, like I'm gonna create a fucking tidal wave of momentum. So, but I didn't think this back then, and I never went back. So I don't want any of you to make the same mistake where you don't understand how to brand yourself, and then you end up pulling yourself out of wrestling or losing belief or thinking that you're not good enough or that you need to do something before you'll be what you need to be before you can be what you want to be. Don't make the same mistake. So I know it's kind of this rambling fucking rant that I just made, but if you have any questions, leave a comment. If you have anybody out there that's also a pro or that's a pro currently that disagrees with what I'm saying, or just anything to say, whoever you are, give me some engagement. When I start getting more engagement, I'm going to start going more deeply into this channel. I've just been I focus on my other channels because I have other channels. I have one other channel that has thousands of subscribers, and I'm just focusing on building that one right now so I can get monetized. But this one I have no engagement. So start engaging with me, guys. Once I figure out how to do matches without the copyright blocking it, then I'm gonna start doing more. I'm gonna start uploading the analyses for matches. At that point, even if nobody's watching, because I just like to do it, it's just fun, and it gives me a reason to start watching pro wrestling again. I haven't watched it in so long, but if I'm doing an analysis, I was taking notes. Like I remember after I did these last 10 analyses or 9 analyses, I was like I went back and rewatched them, and then I was taking notes about how I can more clearly explain what I'm saying, and then just learning about the way that I would look at it, and like it's tightening up just my knowledge of the 7 steps, which I love. It goes back to what I'm talking about now, which is what made me start thinking about this shit now. Where it's like, brand your fucking shit, like structure it a certain way and understand what goes where, why, how you want it to look, and all that stuff. Like it's all from just doing analyses. So I'm gonna do them just for my own personal growth, and I want to share it with y'all. And then once I figure out how to get around the copyright, right? But until then, once I start getting more engagement, and honestly, the more engagement that I get, the more it's gonna fucking push me to get around this copyright bullshit. Because right now I'm just like, I could do that, or I could just focus on my other channel that's got it's gonna hit like 6,000 subscribers. That channel had hit 300 or 200 and fucking 30,000, and then it got deleted, and then I restarted it, and then it got back up to a few thousand, and then got deleted again, and now I've got it back up to like 6,000 almost. And I think I figured out why I got deleted before, so I'm not gonna make those same mistakes. But anyway, I'm focusing on that fucking channel, and that's a fucking MMA channel. You get what I'm saying? Which, I mean, it kind of helps me with pro wrestling, but because, like I went through a phase where I kind of never really left it, where I would watch MMA and try to like incorporate that in my actual matches. So it would make it look less of a work, and it would add to the illusion that you're watching a fight. By watching fights, I can make a fight, create a fight, produce a fucking fight for a pro wrestling crowd much more easily if I understand how everything feels, right? So it helps me in that sense, and I just like MMA, so I've been really focusing on that. But once if I start getting fucking more engagement on this channel, I will completely abandon the other channel, honestly. Like I won't completely abandon it, but it'll flip where I'll work on the other channel like once a week, maybe 1 day a week, and I'll be full into this one. Like I really fucking wanted this channel to be the one that pops off for me and starts paying me, and I just dedicate myself to this one. I want to start a pro wrestling school one day. I want to start my own promotion. I want pro wrestling to be back in my life, but I haven't done it in like 20 years, man. I want to, there isn't really for a while, I kind of just like, was just like, I'm just grateful that I did it, and I'm not going to try to like clutch it, because when you really love something, whether it's in your life or not, it doesn't really make it less, it doesn't really ruin it for you. You get what I'm saying? Like it's not like, oh, it's this thing that I almost did, and every time I think about it, I get angry, or I get full of regret. I'm not full of regret, but, and like I said, so because I have that, when I first left wrestling, I was just like, well, it'll always be a part of me, so I don't really have to think about how I never did it. And then over the years, man, just like the more I think about it, like what would even have happened if I kept going? I could still go back now and blah, blah, blah. You know what I mean? Like I start thinking about stuff like that, And then if I see wrestling on TV, like sometimes I'll watch it and it's still, I still got it in me. Like I can't, it's like I said, it's always a part of me, and like I can't get away from it. And if this is my way to get back into it, like I've always had this feeling like one day I'm gonna get back into it. I don't know how, but one day I'll get back into it. Well, maybe this is it. Maybe this is what's gonna bring me back. And I want it to be like, I'm a fucking fan first. I wanted to be with the fans, with other aspiring pro wrestlers, with pro wrestlers. Like, I love it. You all are my people. You're my spirit fucking family, or whatever the fuck it's called. Let's fucking do this. I hope I start getting some engagement from you guys, and we can really unpack, figure this thing out, and really figure out how to be the greatest of all fucking time. Make the best matches that people just cannot get enough of. Hell, I'll start a federation with you guys, if my YouTube channel ever gets that big where I'm making enough money, thousands of dollars to start a fed, I'm going to be like the Mr. Beast of pro wrestling, where I'm just going to take all my money that I make from YouTube and put it into the fucking wrestling federation and make the best fucking pro wrestling federation that the world has ever fucking known. And it's going to be run by us. But anyway, hopefully I start getting more engagement from you guys. I want to connect with you all. Let's talk about pro wrestling. Branding. Learn, become comfortable, love the pro wrestling, become one with it. And then once you're in this position where you can actually maneuver within this realm, you need to learn how to brand yourself. And you will fucking dominate. We will fucking dominate. See you guys in the next video.